Break bad habits faster than you think. What if breaking a bad habit does not take months of struggle, but starts shifting in a matter of days once the brain is approached the right way? Research in behavioral psychology shows that habits are not just actions. They are loops made of cues, routines, and rewards. And most people fail not because they lack discipline, but because they try to attack the habit itself instead of understanding the loop behind it. That is why the same patterns keep coming back even after strong effort. But here is the part that changes everything. When the loop is interrupted at the right point, the habit begins to weaken faster than expected. This is not about extreme control or sudden transformation. It is about learning how the brain builds habits and then using that knowledge to quietly take them apart. Why bad habits feel impossible to break. Bad habits often feel stronger than intentions. Even when there is a clear decision to stop, the urge still appears, sometimes even stronger than before. This happens because habits are stored in the brain as automatic patterns. They do not require active thinking. Once triggered, the behavior begins almost on its own. This is why relying on willpower alone rarely works. The brain is not choosing the habit in the moment. It is following a path that has already been built through repetition. The hidden shift begins when this is understood. The goal is not to fight the habit directly, but to understand what triggers it and what reward it provides. Without that awareness, the pattern stays invisible and continues repeating. The cue is where everything begins. Every habit starts with a cue, something that tells the brain to begin the routine. It could be a time of day, an emotion, a location, or even a specific situation. Most people focus on stopping the action itself, but the real leverage sits at the cue. When the cue is noticed, there is a small window where the pattern can be interrupted. Ignoring this moment allows the habit to continue automatically, but recognizing it creates a choice. Over time, this awareness weakens the connection between the cue and the action. The brain starts pausing instead of reacting instantly. That pause is where control begins to grow. Replacing instead of removing. Trying to eliminate a habit completely often creates resistance. The brain is used to receiving a certain reward, and when that reward disappears, it pushes back. This is why many attempts to quit fail quickly. The more effective approach is replacing the routine while keeping the reward similar. If a habit provides relief, stimulation, or comfort, the replacement should offer something close to that. This allows the brain to accept the change more easily. Over time, the new behavior becomes the default response to the same cue. This does not feel like losing something. It feels like shifting to a better option. Why willpower fails. Under pressure. Willpower works when conditions are easy, but it weakens under stress, fatigue, or emotional pressure. This is when bad habits tend to return. The brain looks for familiar patterns that provide quick relief. Relying only on willpower means relying on something that is not always available. The hidden shift is building systems that reduce the need for willpower. Changing the environment, or removing triggers and simplifying decisions all make it easier to stay on track. When the right choice becomes the easier choice, consistency improves without constant effort. The role of environment in breaking patterns. Environment quietly influences behavior more than most people realize. Easy access to triggers makes habits harder to break. Even visual cues can activate the urge before there is time to think. Adjusting the environment reduces these triggers. Moving certain items out of reach, changing routines, or altering surroundings can create immediate impact. The brain responds to what is in front of it. When the environment changes, behavior often follows. This is not about control through force, but about making the desired behavior more natural and the unwanted one less convenient. Emotional triggers and hidden patterns. Many habits are tied to emotions rather than situations. Stress, boredom, frustration, or even excitement can act as powerful triggers. These emotional cues are harder to notice because they come from within. But they follow patterns just like external cues. Recognizing these emotional states is key to breaking the cycle. When the feeling is identified, it becomes easier to choose a different response. Ignoring it often leads back to the same habit. Over time, learning to respond differently to these emotions reduces their power to trigger automatic behavior. The importance of small interruptions. Breaking a habit does not always require a complete stop. Sometimes a small interruption is enough to weaken the pattern. Delaying the action, changing the sequence, or adding a brief pause can disrupt the automatic flow. This might seem insignificant, but it creates space between the cue and the routine. That space allows conscious choice to return. Repeating these small interruptions gradually reduces the strength of the habit. The brain starts losing its automatic response, making it easier to replace the behavior over time. Why progress feels invisible at first. In the early stages, it can feel like nothing is changing. The urges still appear, and the habit might still happen occasionally. This can create the illusion that progress is not being made. But beneath the surface, the brain is adjusting. Neural pathways are being weakened and new ones are forming. This process takes time before it becomes noticeable. The mistake is stopping too early. Consistency during this phase is what leads to visible change later. Once the shift becomes clear, maintaining progress becomes easier than starting again. Identity and long-term change. At some point, breaking a bad habit stops being about the habit itself and starts becoming about identity. When someone sees themselves as someone who has control, their actions begin to align with that belief. This does not happen instantly. It builds through repeated evidence. Each small win reinforces the idea that change is possible. Over time, the new identity becomes stronger than the old pattern. And once that happens, the habit loses its hold because it no longer matches how the brain sees itself. Turning change into a system. Lasting change comes from systems, not one-time efforts. The systems create structure that supports daily behavior without constant decision-making. This could be simple routines, clear triggers, or predefined responses to certain situations. When a system is in place, the brain does not have to rely on motivation or willpower. The right action becomes part of a pattern. This makes consistency easier and reduces the chances of falling back into old habits. Over time, the system becomes automatic, turning effort into routine. Breaking bad habits faster than expected is not about forcing change or relying on extreme discipline. It is about understanding how habits work and using that understanding to create small, consistent shifts. The process is not instant, but it is faster than it seems when approached the right way. The real question now is simple. What is one habit that can be interrupted starting today? Share thoughts and keep the conversation going. And if building better patterns is the goal, staying connected will make sure the next step is always clear.